It is December 31st. Happy New Year. Already have cat hair in my mouth. Happy New Year! Time just hit me and now I feel weird. Okay, whatever. Okay, well, welcome to my end of year wrap up. Basically, I did every book I read. Calm down. I did every book I read part 1 back in June, where I went through like the first 20 something ish books I read from January to June. And now here we are. We're gonna pick off where I left off in June. Reading stats wise, I have read 50 books and my reading goal this year was 50 books. We're gonna try to up that next year. Goal for next year is to find some new favorite authors and books and stuff like that. My favorites video did already come out, but we're gonna go through every single book I read now, the good and the bad. Starting with Ocean of Sin and Starlight by Karina Hall. This is a sequel. Do I remember much about this? I don't think so. I rated it 3 stars. Standalone spinoff of A Ship of Bones and Teeth. Is this the one with the priest in it? It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. I think it's a siren and like a priest who is like, or this guy disguised as a priest captures her. It's very dark. There's a lot of trigger warnings in it, so if you're interested in it, please, please, please look up the trigger warnings. But I mean, I gave it 3 stars. Must have not thought it was horrible. 3 stars for me is just, it's an average book. I'm not gonna go into detail for every single book, by the way. This is just every book I've read plus the rating, and if I liked it, I'll talk about it. If I didn't like it, I will definitely talk about it. For books like this where I'm like, don't remember much, but I gave it 3 stars, that's kind of what you're gonna get. That's all I really remember from Of Sin and Starlight. I then read The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. There was so much drama about this book, and I didn't even know that there was so much drama about it until I finished reading it. I got sent an e-arc of this book, or like an audio arc of this book, so I wasn't part of the arc drama. There was a thing with the publisher sending out advanced reader copies of this book that people were not very happy about because they sent something in the box with this book because it is a smutty book. If you don't know about it, there's so much probably videos and stuff about it, but there is a big like dramatic, not dramatic, but big debate thing on Bookstagram and Book Talk and everything about this book that I didn't realize was a thing until after I read it and started saying things about it. And so I got sent the audio arc, and I actually gave this book 4 stars. I enjoyed it. It was fun to read and listen to, and it was actually narrated by Casey McQuiston. Like, she had narration parts in it. I have been off and on with Casey McQuiston books. I really like Red, White, and Royal Blue. I really like To Kiss Shara Wheeler too. Shara Wheeler, which is her young adult sapphic romance book. I liked that one as well. And then there was this one, The Pairing, which I gave 4 stars. I couldn't get into her other book I've tried before, which was, couldn't get into One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I just did not like it. But I Kissed Shara Wheeler, I did like. Red, White, and Royal Blue was one of my favorites romances, and then there was The Pairing. This is also written by Casey McQuiston, who I really like their writing. They are really fun to read. Like, they have a really good humor to their writing, which I really like. The Pairing, a bit annoying. It's about a couple that broke up right before this vacation, so they both canceled the vacation. Years later, when it's like the voucher is about to expire, they both go on it again, and so they kind of like start this game to see how many people they can hook up with each, and then it turns into like, and you know, a second chance romance. So they're both bisexual. One of them is also non-binary, but like, you're not supposed to know that. Somehow everybody knows that going into it. I don't know. Basically, there's a lot of food and wine in this, which I thought was fun. They're like traveling across France, I want to say. Theo, I believe, is a wine sommelier, and then there's the French pastry chef. There's a lot happening in this book, but like, it's an entertaining time. I did remember Theo, I think. Maybe I got the characters wrong, but one of them was really annoying. Like, I wasn't clashing with them. They annoyed me a lot. It's entertaining. There were some boring parts, and the characters were a bit whiny, but it was a fun time. Oh my goodness. Okay, after this, speaking of whiny characters, went down the rabbit hole that is the Zodiac Academy. I read all 9 books. Awakening, Ruthless Fae, The Reckoning, Shadow Princess, Cursed Fates, Fated Throne, Heartless Sky, Sorrow and Starlight, and Restless Stars. I still want to do a Zodiac video where I break down all these books because they are time. This is a really, really popular series about 2 twins, girls. What did I rate the first one? Let me just talk about the first one. First book I rated 3 stars. None of them got above a 3 for me. I will go through all my ratings for them. But these two twins are in our world and they're pulled into a magical world where like the zodiacs are a big thing. And there's all this elemental magic. There's all these different shapeshifter werewolf beings, and it's a hot mess of a garbage fire that you can't look away from or stop reading. I mean, I went through these books. I think I read the first 5 in like 5 days. And then we got to the second half of the series, which I hated. The first book I gave 3 stars. Ruthless Fae, the second one, I gave 3 stars. The Reckoning, book 3, I gave 3 stars. Shadow Princess, I gave 3 stars. 5, Cursed Fates, I gave 3 stars. Book 6, Fated Throne, I gave 3 stars. I thought I gave more of them too. Maybe I didn't. Book 7, Heartless Sky, I gave 3 stars. The next one's gonna be rough. Book 8, Sorrow and Starlight, I gave 2 stars. Hated that one. Honestly, that one's probably more of a 1 star for me. And then Restless Stars, I also gave 3 stars. So I guess it was just a 3-star series minus book 8, which I hated book 8. Book 8 was so boring. If you want to read the series, I think you should. They're a fun time. I think I finished all of them within 2 weeks of each other. The last bit of the series took me longer because I was having more issues with the later bit of the series. It started to feel like the series was too long. It became like the same things began to happen again and again and again and again. And like the series could have easily been 5 books, I feel like, or 6 books. They didn't need the 2 last. The last like 3 books are like thousands of pages long. Ridiculously long. Doesn't need to be. There are so many unnecessary things and characters and point of views that you do not need. They don't need to be in there. They're not like necessary for the plot. It was a fun time. Obviously, I gave them most of them 3 stars, which I didn't realize that I gave most of them 3 stars. I thought a lot of them were like 2s. I might have to lower the rating for Sorrow and Starlight though, because I despised number 8 so much. I would like to go onto a deep dive of this series, and I need to do it sooner rather than later so I don't forget everything. I don't know, look up the trigger warnings. There's a lot in these books. They're very dark, romance, smutty books. There is a lot. And the only thing I can say, my favorite thing was Orion. I didn't care about anybody else. I just cared about Orion. Never thought I'd be into a teacher-student relationship, but Orion was my baby. I loved him so much, and he is the only person who I thought actually had a brain in this whole series. Next, I read The Temptation of Magic by Megan Scott. Okay, I gave this 3 stars. I read this because it was a fairy loot book, and I was like, ooh, this is pretty. It was supposed to be like dark academia vibes, which it kind of had, but I don't think it did really well. I don't know if it was just my copy of Fairy Loot, but there were some like weird formatting issues in my copy. When they said things, they didn't have quotation marks around them, which made things really weird. It might have just been because it was the Fairy Loot copy, but I'm not sure, or just my copy maybe was messed up. But I know Fairy Loot sent it out before the book was officially published, so I was gonna try to like get the audiobook. Why does audiobook sound audible? Audiobook. Why does that sound weird to me? I was gonna try to get the audio. Is my brain okay? What is the word? Audible? No. What is that the right, why does that not seem like the right word to me? But that's the only word my brain can come up with. I'm so confused. Okay, moving on. So the Audible version wasn't out yet. Like the physical edition of this book wasn't actually out yet, and Fairy Loot somehow was able to send it out early. I don't know what happened. The formatting drove me crazy. But there is this like hunter guy in it. I'm trying to remember. I gave it 3 stars, so this goes really mid. I don't think I'm continuing on with this series at all. But there's this like hunter race, and the main girl is something. Maybe she also is part of the hunter race. I don't remember. But she's like trying not to get caught, and she's like trying to hide and be a human, but it's in like a university setting. That's all I remember, other than the formatting issues, which drove me crazy while trying to read it. Next I read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I think this is the 2nd or 3rd Ali Hazelwood book I have read. They're all pretty similar. Oh, it's the 3rd. This was a time reading. I remember very vividly reading this book because this was my reading challenge for Disneyland. I brought this book into Disneyland with me to see how much I could read while waiting in lines and doing other stuff at Disney and still have fun at Disney. And honestly, I love doing Disney challenges. I think they're fun. I know I'm a Disney adult. I know that's not for everyone, but who cares? I will forever, whenever I go to Disney, do some sort of fun challenge. Most of Ali Hazelwood's books are similar. They're going to be enemies to lovers or STEM novels or whatever. I think in this case, the main girl is an engineer and her company is bought by another company, and the head of that company and her are the ones who are the romantic leads in this, I want to say. I think this is one of her more steamier novels too, that I remember a lot of sex scenes in this book for some reason. Maybe it's because I was in a very family-friendly place and I was like, this seems wrong to read here. But I gave this book 3 stars. I then read Not in My Book by Katie Holt, and I gave it 3 stars. Honestly, I don't remember much of this book at all. Oh, they have to write a book together. That's right. So there's like these 2 writers and they're enemies to lovers. No, maybe they're in college. Yes, they're in college and they're both writers in college, literary degrees or something like that. And their professor is like done with them fighting in class all the time. So she assigns them to write a book together. That's what it is. Yep. It was okay. 3 stars. Obviously, I didn't remember much about it. So I guess it was just a cute little romance, and I thought I didn't like it more. I don't know. I'm starting to doubt my own taste when I look back at things. I thought a lot of these were more like 2 and 1 stars. I had a lot of 3 stars. I guess it was just a mid-year of reading. Next, one of my favorites of this year, Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This is Wicked Games #1. I probably will read the second one, though it's, I think, considered a standalone, and the second one is going to be about her sister, I believe. I give this book 5 stars. I read this in September, and it was the perfect time to read it. It's very, like, Danny Phantom, has these New Orleans, like, voodoo necromancer kind of vibes. It's very adult Caraval, basically. There is this big competition, and she enters it because she has to save her sister. And there's all these ghosts and trials and gore and spicy times, and it's just like a very adult New Orleans Caraval. It's fun. And when I say Caraval, I mean the book Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Like, it felt very similar to that, but better than Caraval. So there's that. And I loved the main guy interest, who is a ghost. It's a romance with a ghost. So there's that. Yeah, no, it was a fun time. Look up trigger warnings. It does get pretty gory and spicy, just so you know. God, this book. Next is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. Gave this book 1 star. This was a book club book, and this book made a lot of us, or not a lot of us, I guess it was a good book club book, because there were some of us who loved this book, and then the complete opposite side of that, there was quite a few of us who like hated this book because of some of this that happens. I would definitely, this could even be a triggering book. I would say it definitely could be. A lot to do with like parental and just a lot of issues in it. It's a time. You start the book knowing that their house burns down, and like it's kind of a mystery because you're trying to figure out how it burnt down and what and who did it and all this stuff. There was a lot in this book that I personally did not like or agree with, so there was that. I then read A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. I always butcher her name, and I'm so sorry. This was my pick for book club, actually. And I gave it 3 stars. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I was so excited for it, too. Like, it's supposed to be heisty. People are like saying it was kind of like Six of Crows. And, yeah, kind of heisty, but like, I wanted more heist. The heist was only like in the last 20 pages, it felt like there was a lot of build up and leading up to it. Nothing happened, it felt like. So I kind of just wish there was more. And this felt very, I don't know, bland a little bit. I then read Wrath of the Triple Goddess by Rick Riordan, which is the Percy Jackson and the Olympians #7. I was such a Percy Jackson kid when I was younger, and so this year has kind of been a Percy Jackson reread. This book just came out, and I gave it 3 stars, which I think is really low for a Percy Jackson book for me, but like, I still enjoyed it. Basically, Percy's trying to get into college, and that's the stories that is happening. I'm actually really behind on a lot of Rick Riordan series, and I would like to catch up, but who knows. When I watched Percy Jackson, the TV show this year, I kind of was like, oh yeah, I really liked this world. And so I started rereading a bunch of Percy Jackson books. Those are a lot of my like part 1 books that I read. Wrath of the Triple Goddess came out. I read it really, really fast. They're really short and easy to read. And it's really nice to be back with like Percy Jackson and be in like Percy Jackson's point of view again. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, they They feel a little money grabby, still a fun time because it's Percy Jackson, you know. I read The Dagger in the Flame by Catherine Doyle. I gave this 3 stars, and that's purely because Freddie Carter narrates the audiobook. Why I wanted to read this book. It's supposed to be an assassin and a spy, enemies to lovers. Mid. It was very mid, but enemies to lovers. So, you know, there's that. I probably won't continue on with this series. I just don't know. We'll see. Maybe if Freddie Carter narrates the second book too, we'll pick it up. Okay, we're speeding up a little bit. I then reread Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren King by Trisha Levenseller. I read these a long time ago and I really, really loved them, and I've been wanting to reread them because I wanted to read Vengeance of the Pirate Queen, which is the new book that she released after I read the previous 2 and never got around to it, but wanted to reread the previous 2 before I got into the 3rd one. Yes, okay, cool. Even though it's a spinoff, I still wanted to read Daughter of the Pirate King. I remember really loving them. I did really love them. I gave these both. They're both rereads. So I gave Daughter of the Pirate King 5 stars, Daughter of the Siren Queen 4 stars, and I read Vengeance of the Pirate Queen, which is the new one I hadn't read yet, and I gave that one 3 stars. Just didn't quite have that charm and feeling that I really loved, you know? Like, that the first 2 had. The first book, I think, is definitely my favorite. Like, they're just a fun time, and it's piratey, and I love that kind of stuff. I'm not going to talk about this book, because it's not worth talking about, but it was a book club book, and I did read 1776 by David McCullough. I don't care. I'm sorry I hated this. It was like reading a history textbook, and I purely got to a point where even though I was listening to it, it was just going in one ear out the other. Like, I couldn't, it was all just, it was bad, okay? I then read Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. Of course I did. Love me a Carrie Maniscalco book. She's my favorite author. You should not be surprised that I rated this 5 stars. I love Gluttony. This is Gluttony's story. This is the spin-off series from Kingdom of the Wicked. The first one followed Envy. The second one followed Gluttony. I liked Gluttony's better than Envy, but Wrath is superior to all of them. I love Wrath. I got my Wrath tattoo too. Okay. A lot happened while reading this book. So if you want to go watch that vlog, it is up. It was during Halloween time. I got a tattoo. I went and saw a Sabrina Carpenter concert. Like, there was a lot happening while reading this book, and I was just, this book, I loved it, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because it's Carrie Maniscalco. I gave I gave Envy's book, the one before this, actually 4 stars, which is like one of the only 4-star Carrie Maniscalco books I've read. This book, however, back up to 5 stars. I love Gluttony so much more. I think it's just an Envy issue. Like, I think I have issues with the Prince of Me. So there's that. But Kingdom of the Wicked, go check it out. Look up the trigger warnings though. It has to do with like 7 princes of hell, plus there's witches and all these different kind of demon and subspecies things, and it's just a really cool world and I love it so much. Next I read Where the Library Hides by Isabella Banes. This was the sequel to What the River Knows. I read What the River Knows this year as well, and I loved it. It was a book club pick that my sister chose, and I really loved it. It was like my top book of the year, What the River Knows was, so I was really excited for Where the Library Hides. I mix up these all the time, so I was really excited to read the sequel because I had like really big hopes for it, and I really loved the first one, and I was a little let down. I gave this 4 stars. I still liked it. It's still like my favorites of this year, though I don't know if it's reaching like my all-time favorites list. It has that mummy, Indiana Jones adventurous, mystery, Egypt vibe that I love. Whitford Hayes, I still love. He is the main love interest. He gives me kind of like Thomas Cresswell, almost like Han Solo a little bit. I don't know, that sarcastic and like witty kind of character. I love them, and call him Whitford is his name. This book just wasn't as charming for me for some reason. Like that quality that I loved so much in the first book just wasn't there in the second book, but I still enjoyed it, so 4 stars. Okay, 4 more books to talk about. Next is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I have been waiting to read Belladonna for a while. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. A lot of people really love Belladonna. People have been telling me to read it for ages. And so I was like, this is going to be such a good book. I gotta give me time to read it and enjoy it. And I read it, and I am not a Belladonna girly. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. I just wasn't like wowed. I wasn't like, everybody was telling me it was so good, and I wasn't like blown away by it. I don't even know if I'm continuing on with the series. It's basically this girl and she falls in love with death. Like, that's what's happening. And like, she can't die. She keeps trying to like die and she can't. There's like this magical weird system happening. There's a lot of like social prejudices happening. There's like, I don't know, it's giving like 1800s vibes. There's a lot of people dying. It's interesting. I don't think I liked the way it was written. I think I liked the concepts, but not the style of writing. I then read Coraline by Neil Gaiman. This was also a book club book that I was forced to read. I am not a big Neil Gaiman fan. I've read the other book by him, Graveyard Book, and did not like it. I don't like his writing style. I did give Coraline 3 stars because I was more interested in it than the Graveyard Book, but also could have been because it's easy to read as well. I also had never seen the Coraline animated film before reading this too, so I didn't really know what I was getting into. We did watch it afterward, and I kind of realized that I just think Coraline is a little bit boring, and the character herself of Coraline annoys me so much. I know she's a child, but she annoys me. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm a Coraline girly either, which blows my mind because it feels like such my vibe. It's like spooky, scary, witchy, kind of like that aesthetic I really love, but it just wasn't for me. These next 2 books are books that I got from NetGalley and was trying to get my score back up to 80%, so I read them really quick, and also they were really nice to get my reading goal done too. So I got Daddy December by Liz Vonnick, audiobook arc for this. This was also like the first like Christmas book I had ever read. I don't think Christmas books were for me. I'm not one for like a Christmas Hallmark movie either. They're just not for me. This is about a girl who gets pregnant and then like hides for 10 years, and then when she comes back, the dad is like, wait, that's my child and I want to be in her life, and that's basically the whole thing. Yeah. It's really short. The audiobook narrators were okay. I had to speed up the audiobook narration because I think one of the narrators just talked really, really slow. Obviously, it was like a Hallmark movie if Hallmark was steamy. So not Hallmark, but you know. I then read Bound to the Shadow Prince by Ruby Dixon. Let me just tell you, when I tried to read Ice Planet Barbarians, this is the same author, I was not for it. I DNF'd it. I did not like it. I didn't know if it was the writing style or like what was in the book, but there was a lot of weird sexual assault and like misogyny things, I feel like, in Ice Planet Barbarians that I was not okay with, and I had like put it down within the first 10 pages. It was literally a sexual assault scene and I hated it so much, and I'm talking about Ice Planet Barbarians when I tried to read it. So when I got this arc, I was like, well, maybe it's in a different world, maybe I'll like it better. And I give this book 1 star. I don't think Ruby Dixon books are for me. Basically, it's these 2 characters and they have to be locked in a tower together for like 7 years or bad things will happen. That's like premise around this book. The guy is creature, monster guy, I guess. And she, just a whiny girl. She whines all the time, and she just talks about how much power she has in her own body and her sexuality, and like how much of a feminist she is, and she's gonna let no man do this to her, and then she just like lets him do things to her. And I'm like, did the feminism just leave your body as soon as you saw him? Like, what happened? There's so much in this book. Like, they try to pull it off as like this feminist thing, and I think it's just the author writes really misogynistic things in all her books. Maybe, I don't know. They're just, the guy is always this powerful, he's gonna tell her what to do, and she's gonna be like, I don't want you to tell me what I'm to do because I'm a feminist, but I'm gonna let you tell me what to do anyways. Like, sorry, it annoyed me. There's definitely a lot of trigger warnings in this book. There's like death of children, sexual assault, kill and eat horses, so animal cruelty could be added to that list too. There's a lot in this book when I was just expecting, like, I don't know what I was expecting. Also, there was nodding in this book. I didn't know anything about this book going into it other than it was like probably a dark smutty romance, and there is nodding. If you don't know what nodding is, protect yourself, okay? Don't look at it. Unless you're into it. I don't know. I was like, what is happening? That's usually like a werewolf book kind of a thing. Like it was in Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I don't know what this book was. Safe to say I will no longer try to read a Ruby Dixon book. Not for me. No thank you. So we ended on a rough note, but it's okay. Those were all the books I read of 2024. We're ending on such a negative note. It's okay. We're gonna start next year very positive. I already have a couple books lined up that I want to read, that I'm very, very excited to read. I hope this next year is great for you. I know there's a lot of happening, a lot uncertainties in the world right now, but it'll be okay. We'll power through. Happy New Year. Let me know your favorite read and maybe your least favorite read, how your 2024 reading went, or what you're planning on doing next year. What's your reading goal for next year? I would love to know. But thank you for watching. Bye bye.